Welcome to the Independent School Podcast. This is the place for senior school leaders to discover innovative ideas and actionable tips that are going to help to strengthen their school's income streams and secure its future. My name's Juliette Corbett, and I'm a consultant, speaker and facilitator specialising in independent schools. So thanks for joining me today, and let's get started on this week's episode. Hello and welcome to this final strategy toolkit for independent schools. So this is the 5th episode that I've done over this summer, looking at how independent schools can strengthen their strategy in response to the COVID-19 crisis. So I've been facilitating strategic response discussions with independent school heads and directors of development throughout this crisis, building on the work that I was doing beforehand, helping schools to develop their strategies. And it's been really interesting to see the themes and the trends that have come through those discussions. And one of the things that I found is that while it's really important for school leaders to be thinking fully strategically at this point, and the previous episode sets out a full 5-step process for strategic thinking skills, it's actually important that all staff can connect what they're doing to the strategy, even if they're not actually creating strategy themselves. So one of the things I talk about a lot is how it's very important for schools to have a culture of strategic thinking throughout the school, not just in the senior leadership team. And what I mean by that is that the day-to-day decisions which staff members are making across your school, that is actually what is delivering your strategy. It really doesn't matter what we write in our strategic plans, in our value statements, in our visions, if the decisions which are being made on the ground every single day are not aligned to that strategy. So what's really important is that while the previous episode set out a full 5-step process for developing your strategic thinking skills, actually every staff member needs a shortcut version so that they understand how their day-to-day decisions actually help to deliver the strategy which has been developed. So in response to this need, a couple of years ago, I created the Strategic Thinking in 3 Dimensions framework. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. So strategic thinking in 3 dimensions is not about strategy development, it's about strategy implementation. So this isn't going to help you to decide what your strategy should be, but it is absolutely going to help your staff to deliver that strategy which has been determined. So the prerequisite for this is that you have communicated clearly to your staff what strategic direction you're following, and if there have been any changes over the last couple of months due to COVID-19, that needs to be really clearly articulated as well. Okay, so given that, what are the 3 dimensions of strategic thinking? The first dimension that staff need to think about is looking up. So I want you to think about this as a chart with 3 dimensions, and you're sitting at the base of this chart. So the first thing you do is you look up. You align the problem that you're about to solve or the decision that you're about to make upwards to the school's strategy. How does this decision connect to the overall strategy of the school? Now, clearly they can only do that if that strategy has been clearly communicated to them. But they need to be able to think about how their decisions deliver that overall strategy. So for example, it could be the head gardener thinking through how what they are doing in planning out the planting for the next year, how that might help to deliver the school strategy. So I worked back in Cambridge with an inspirational head gardener who connected all of their planting through to the individual countries which the students had been coming from. So that every student, when they arrived from overseas, had at least one plant, and normally many more than one, in the college gardens from their home country. That really helped to communicate in a really visible way the college's overall strategy of being really international and everything that it was doing. So individual staff members need to be helped to understand how their decisions connect and deliver the school's strategy. The second dimension for strategic thinking in 3 dimensions is looking around. So having looked up and connected your decision to the overall strategy, you want to look around and think about collaboration. So how can this decision be connected to other activities across your school? are there opportunities to leverage the work that you're doing? So maybe by partnering with staff in other departments, you can actually find additional benefits from the work that you're putting in. How can you innovate? Are there ideas and things that are happening in other parts of the school which will help you to innovate, perhaps to become more creative or become more efficient in what you're doing? So the second stage is looking around, collaborating with others within the school. And the third element of strategic thinking in 3 dimensions is looking ahead, is looking forward through time. What are the future impacts of the decision that I'm about to make? Can I build in flexibility, particularly important at the moment given the constantly changing environment we're working in? Can I build in flexibility to this decision through time? So those are the 3 dimensions that you want staff to be thinking about. First dimension is looking up, aligning decisions to the school strategy. Second dimension is looking around for collaboration opportunities. And the third dimension is looking ahead, thinking about the impacts through time. So you'll probably notice some connection there to last week's episode, thinking about the 5 elements of strategic thinking, but it's intentionally made a little bit more simple and a little bit more focused on strategy implementation rather than strategy development. So hopefully that's of interest. If you go to the episode notes for this episode, you'll see a little bit more detail, and I've put there also the diagram of the strategic thinking in 3 dimensions, which you can use and share with your staff. It helps to kind of visualise this process. So if you head over to the episode notes, that's at www.consultjuliet.co.uk/016. So that's episode 16. Also in the episode notes, you'll find a link to my research report entitled Rethinking Strategy in Independent Schools. So you can download it from the website, and that includes a whole host of best practice recommendations for developing a culture of strategic thinking in your school. And there's also links to the strategy briefing videos which I've recorded, which include a whole host of things which I haven't had time to cover in detail on these podcasts, including things like the importance of ambidextrous strategy and how to conduct a Pestel analysis as part of your strategy development process. Fantastic. So if you're interested in talking to me any further about these topics, or if you're interested in talking about the possibility of me facilitating a strategy away day or a virtual strategic response discussion, then just get in touch with me via my contact details on the episode notes. Great, so that concludes the 5 strategy toolkits. Do look at the previous episodes if you missed them. From next week, we return to our usual schedule with a mixture of guests and talking about how to strengthen the income streams for your independent school. So thanks for joining me. I look forward to talking to you again soon. Bye then. So that's it for today, and thanks for listening to the Independent School Podcast. If you want to make sure that you don't miss out on future episodes, you can sign up for my newsletter at www.consultjuliet.co.uk/sign-up. There you can also explore the various ways that I help independent schools to strengthen their income streams and secure their future. Fantastic. See you next time then.